Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. In the previous lecture, we have discussed about the introduction of pteridophytes. What are pteridophytes? We have seen that pteridophytes form the opening phase of vascular plants and are also called as botanical snakes or vascular cryptogams or vascular amphibians. And like bryophytes, they also require water for fertilization and are thus known as amphibians of the plant kingdom. And like higher plants, that is gymnosperms and angiosperms, they also contain these vascular tissues and have been placed under trichophyta along with gymnosperms and angiosperms. And we have also seen that the main plant body of these pteridophytes, it is sporophyte, it is sporophytic phase, which is long-lived dominant phase in the life cycle. But we have also seen that gametophytic phase, though it is short-lived, but it is also independent. And this is the characteristic feature of these pteridophytes, because in no other groups of plants both the phases are independent. In other groups of plants, either sporophytic phase is dominant and independent, or gametophytic phase is dominant and independent. But in pteridophytes, both the phases are independent. Though sporophytic phase is the main phase and the dominant phase and the long-lived phase in the life cycle, but this gametophytic phase, which is also known as prothallus, this is short-lived, but it also lives independently. Now today we will take up the salient features of this group pteridophyta. Number first feature, they are the most primitive. Vascular flowerless, seedless, spore bearing, cryptogamic land plants. And the first feature is they are the most primitive vascular plants. And so far as the vascular plants are concerned, these pteridophytes form the opening phase of vascular, and these are the first vascular land plants. And they are also flowerless and seedless vascular plants. Because all other vascular plants, that is gymnosperms and angiosperms, they are containing seeds. These pteridophytes are seedless as well as flowerless, and they are spore-bearing cryptogamic plants. Land plants. This is the first feature. And second feature, they are mostly terrestrial. As I have already told you, they are land plants. They are mostly terrestrial. Growing on moist and shady places. And these pteridophytes are generally terrestrial, that is land plants, growing on moist and shady places like bryophytes. But a few species are aquatic, मगर कहीं आबस मं त रोजा. For example, azolla, Marsilia. These are the aquatic ferns are aquatic pteridophytes. Some are xerophytic. And mostly they live on moist and shady place, but some are xerophytic. For example, species of Selaginella and Equistum. They are xerophytic. Some are epiphytic. Some pteridophytes are epiphytic. That is the plants living on other plants, as the species of Lycopodium. And generally they are terrestrial, growing on moist and shady places, but a few species are aquatic like Marsilia and Azolla. Some are xerophytic as Selaginella and Equistum, and some species are epiphytic also, that is Lycopodium. Number third feature is mostly these pteridophytes are represented by small annual herbs. And mostly these pteridophytes are represented by small annual herbs, as we have seen Azolla, Selaginella, etc. And mostly pteridophytes are represented by small annual herbs, but a few species are perennial and tree-like. And mostly these are annual, living for only one season, and are generally herbs, but a few species are perennial and tree-like. For example, Angiopteris. Angiopteris is a pteridophyte which is tree-like. Cyathea. These are tree-like pteridophytes. Number fourth feature is the main plant body, which I have already told you, is sporophytic, that is diploid. Sporophytic, which is differentiated into root, stem and leaf, and which is differentiated into true stem, leaf, root and leaf. True root, stem and leaf. Yes, bryophyte has which mostly the plant body is thalloid, that is not differentiated to true root, stem and leaf. Here it is sporophytic and is differentiated into true root, stem and leaf. True root, stem and leaf. Use as a main root, and the primary root, it is short-lived. Primary root is short-lived and is soon replaced by adventitious roots. And use primary root, tap root, it is short-lived and is soon replaced by adventitious roots. This is the feature of these pteridophytes. We use for stem. Stem is usually branched. It is usually branched. Magar a khas feature, branches do not arise in the axil of the leaves. Yum te baki plants ch amon yum branches asa, they arise in the axil of the leaves. They bear an axillary bud, and from this axillary bud branches are produced. But in these pteridophytes, though stem is usually branched, but branches do not arise in the axil of the leaves. And in many ferns, many pteridophytes, you saw the stem chasage banawa ak underground rhizome. Leaf. And you wish root system to leaf. You must say leaves. Leaves may be sickly, simple and sessile. Sickly, simple and sessile. Yat is microphyllous. For example, Selaginella. Leaves may be scaly, simple, small and sessile. تمن چھِ أسۍ وَنان مایکروفِلس فار ایگزامپل سلیجنیلا تہٕ بیٛاکھ کَتھ اَتھ منٛز چھِ لیٖوٕز آسان سُمال مگر سِٹم چھِ آسان لارٕج اور دِس leaf may be large leaf may be scaly, simple and sessile or large and pinnately compound یَوٕ أسۍ وَنان چھِ میکروفِلس یعنی یَتھ منٛز جنرلی لیٖوٕز چھِ آسان پٔڑۍ مگر بیٛاکھ چیٖز چھِ أتھۍ سۭتۍ آسان سِٹم چھِ یِمن منٛز آسان سُمال میکروفِلس ایگزامپل از ایڈینٹم کیٛاہ چھِ ایڈینٹم ناو نمبر 5th feature is چوٗنٛکہِ 4مِس فیٖچرس منٛز کوٚر اَسہِ پَتہٕ روٗٹ سِٹم تہٕ لیٖف الگ الگ ڈِسکس ویسکیوٗلر ٹِشوٗ ہسا چھِ آسان پریزنٹ ویسکیوٗلر ٹِشوٗ از پریزنٹ مگر زایلم چوٗنٛکہِ ویسکیوٗلر ٹِشوٗ میٖنٕز زایلم اینڈ فلویم زایلم contains tracheids only phloem contains seal cells only یعنی تِم گوٚو یہِ چھِ سِمپل ٹایپُک it is not complex xylem contains tracheids only tracheids elements only and phloem contains seal cells only phloem has seal cells only another feature is یُس ہسا cambium چھُ آسان یعنی the lateral meristem found between this xylem and phloem it is generally absent cambium is generally absent and hence secondary growth does not take place یعنی pteridophytes منٛز چھنہٕ cambium آسان کینٛہہ دو xylem تہٕ phloem چھِ آسان مگر cambium چھنہٕ آسان یِتھ کٔنۍ چھنہٕ secondary growth کیازِ secondary growth چھِ گژھان cambium سۭتۍ secondary growth is generally absent in pteridophyte except مگر أکِس دۄن منٛز چھِ آسان except isoetes چھِ اکھ pteridophyte بیٚیہِ چھِ بیٛاکھ بوٹرایچیَم یِمن منٛز چھِ secondary growth گژھان in all other pteridophytes secondary growth does not take place These are some silent features of pteridophytes. Other features we will discuss in another video. This is all for today. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.